Hey, it's Chandler, and in this video I want to share a few strategies you can use to learn how to safely take up space. Now, this is a crucial skill that for so many people is incredibly limited, right? Based on your history, based on your life experiences, based on the culture you're in, based on a whole number of factors. It's a really smart strategy to shrink away from the world. But the thing is, this is not an effective way to get anything done, right? So although it may be challenging at first, I promise that you can learn how to find support within yourself, how to find confidence, and how to find a sense of security as you enlarge yourself and really take up the space, not that you're infringing on anyone else's, but how to take up the space that you deserve as a human being. Fundamentally, this is a process and a practice of reclaiming your human dignity, your sense of worth. And if you are an entrepreneur, if you're a leader, if you aspire to be either of those things, knowing how to take up your space is a crucial skill. No one is going to go along with this person in making a change happen, right? Like, this person does not instill a whole lot of confidence. They don't have the embodied sense of self to make a change happen. But someone who's able to find their support, able to breathe, able to communicate effectively, that person is going to be much more effective in the world. So I want to share a couple of strategies with you to help get this out of your head and into your body. And the first is I just invite you to take a moment to get a baseline of yourself. Check in with how you are right here and right now. And what I mean by that is you might scan through your body from head to toe and get a sense of how large you feel, how tall you sense yourself to be. How much space do you actually take up here? And afterwards, you might also tune into where you notice areas of tension within yourself. Are there particular places where you feel constricted, where you feel held, where you feel bound in some way? Or do you get a sense of relative ease within yourself? Now, you might also bring your attention to where it is that you feel contact with the ground or the chair underneath you. This is going to be particularly important for us, because once you have this baseline sense of self, the first practice that I'd like to share with you is a practice of grounding. Fundamentally finding your own support and learning how to leverage that support more effectively to make change in the world. So, when you get a sense of where it is you feel contact with the ground underneath you, or the chair underneath you, whatever the case may be, the image that I'd like to share with you is an image of an hourglass. Now, consider for a moment that you might have your entire body's worth of weight and of mass as grains of sand. So if you could imagine pouring more and more of that sand into those places where you already feel contact with a chair or with the ground, what does that change about your sense of self? So take a few moments here and really visualize. Can you pour more of that sand? Allow yourself to get heavier and heavier into those places where you feel contact. How does that change your head and its relationship to your pelvis? How does that change the position of your shoulders in space? As you imagine pouring more of your weight, pouring more of those grains of sand into those areas of contact, can you find that there's a greater sense of support underneath you? And that there's a greater sense of your own internal support here as well? This is a fundamental first step to learning how to take up space, is knowing how to find a sense of security and of support. So that might be your first step, is exploring your relationship to the support underneath you, the supports that you have in your life, right? Now, the second strategy here is I want to help you bring some awareness to the actual container that you're in, the physical apparatus that you find yourself in. And so in order to do this, what you might do is hold an arm out in front of you, say your left arm, and gently tap along your arm. And as you do so, really look at yourself in doing this. So when you do this, you're getting multiple different forms of sensory input into your nervous system, which your nervous system processes as it develops your self-image, the psychophysical representation of you as a person in the world. So you might go along your arm and along your shoulder. You might go along your torso. And after you've gone through one arm, take a moment to pause. And again, check in with yourself. And do you notice any differences between that arm that you tapped and your other arm? Is there a difference side to side within you? Do you find that one side feels larger, feels more spacious, that it feels like it has more weight to it, right? So those differences are important to notice as you go through this practice. Now, of course, we don't need to leave you totally lopsided, right? So you could repeat that on the other side. And in some sense, you might think of this as enlivening different parts of yourself, right? Bringing them back online, helping your central nervous system understand that this is a part of you. This is something you have access to. This is a resource that you have. And again, you could go through one arm and begin along your torso as well. You could go along the back of yourself, along the front of yourself. You could gradually make your way down your legs. And as much as possible, again, try and see these parts of yourself that you are tapping here. The visual input is just as important as the tactile input. So, after you've gone through all of your limbs, your torso as well, take a moment here. Check in. What's different about you now compared to you when you began this video? What's different about your sense of how large you are, how secure you feel, how much space you take up? Again, how tall do you feel? What's your sense of your relationship to the room around you? These are really important practices to get a sense of how much space you actually do take up. Because it's important to know you are not nothing. You are something. You are this physical entity. You take up space, right? And the more comfortable you can get with this, the better. The more options you'll have to actually engage with the world around you. So far you've explored your sense of grounding. You've explored this physical container, your embodied sense of self. And as a third strategy to help you get more and more comfortable taking up space, I'd like to invite you to explore your personal space, this sphere that you have around you. And what you could do for this is from a seated position or in standing, basically wherever you are right now, don't change your relationship of where it is you're sitting or where it is you're standing. Keep that sense of support. And what I invite you to do is reach through the space around you from that place of support. So often what we get caught up doing is overreaching, extending beyond our support. And when we do that, if I reach too far over, I'm going to collapse, right? I'm going to fall over. I'm going to have to cling to something for support. But it's so common for us to overextend ourselves. So what I really invite you to do is give yourself an embodied experience of support and of competency as you start to take up space. So as you do this, you might reach through the room and get a sense of how your support, how your sense of weight shifts and allows you to reach through the room. The image you might have is, if you had a layer of green paint on your hands and you were going to paint as much of the room around you as you could, how much space could you paint, right? As you reach up and around, as you reach behind you. Remember, you take up 3 dimensions here. Forward and back, side to side, up and down. How much of the room around you could you cover in this green paint? And as you take a few moments to explore this space around you, again, you might be curious about how your relationship to your sense of support, to the ground or the chair underneath you, how that helps you reach further out into the room. Now, if you've had a few moments to play with that, again, settle back in and ask yourself, be curious, what has shifted here? How has your sense of yourself and your relationship to the world around you changed as a result of these really simple strategies, right? Finding your support, enlivening your container, and reaching from that support through your container out into the world. So again, here too, it's important to check in. These differences are how you are going to learn, how you're going to gradually acclimate yourself to get taking up more and more of the space that you deserve, the space that's yours. So I would love to know what you think of this. Go ahead and drop a comment in the box below or to the side, wherever this is going to be. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know what kind of questions you have. And as always, make sure you subscribe, hit like, all that kind of stuff, just to make sure that you don't miss any videos like this in the future. So thanks. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you soon.